skeptics. Now, I did say, Nick, that you went in initially skeptical, as any person would.
Sure.
How skeptical, and to what extent did you change as a result of your work?
Well, I really didn't know anything about UFOs. I certainly had no belief in little green men, to use that horrible phrase. But when I look back through the government files on this, and I mean some of them were quite highly classified at the time, up to sort of secret UKAs only, that sort of thing, when I found out that these things had been seen by pilots, tracked on radar, when I found out that the Defence Intelligence staff were involved in this and interested, it began to change my mind, and I had a few sightings on my tour of duty as well, which made me think, if I don't believe in aliens, and I'm not saying that, I certainly can't rule out that possibility.
Tell me what you saw.
Well, one of the most amazing cases in the files relates to a landing where one of these things actually came down near the military bases at Bentwaters and Woodbridge in Suffolk. And again...
When?
December 1980. The Defence Intelligence staff assessed radiation readings that were taken at the landing site as being significantly higher than background levels. Some of the United States Air Force military witnesses, and then there were dozens of them, including the Deputy Base Commander, a Lieutenant Colonel, actually got close enough to touch the side of this thing, saw strange symbols on the hull that they likened to Egyptian hieroglyphs, that sort of thing.
What did it look like?
Almost like a lunar landing module, triangular. It came down on some sort of tripod device because the police and the military found indentations in the clearing where this thing had come down.
But presumably it then disappeared, did it? Or we'd have it now, yeah.
Well, exactly, yeah. It pretty much flew off.
See, I knew there were older sightings than this. The one that's always cited is Roswell.
Yes.
Your work must be bedevilled by the existence of so many hoaxes.
It's bedevilled by hoaxes. It's also bedevilled by 90%, probably more than that, being misidentifications. Well-intentioned people being quite truthful, but just making mistakes. Aircraft lights, weather balloons, all the usual sort of stuff. Roswell was 60 years ago, almost to the day, actually. It's still controversial. Some people, believers, say it was an alien spacecraft. Skeptics say it was a classified weather balloon monitoring Soviet nuclear tests.
But wasn't there a faked picture of an alien body being subjected to autopsy?
I split that out from the Roswell incident. I mean, that video, no one had heard of it before 1995. I think that's a modern hoax, probably designed to make money.
Now, presumably this UFO project no longer exists at the M.O.D, or did you just decide to leave it?
Well, I got posted after 3 years, so I went on to other duties. It still does exist, but it spends most of its time now not researching and investigating UFOs, but responding to FOI requests. Under Freedom of Information Act, the M.O.D gets more requests about UFOs than any other subject. That's what my successors spend their time doing now.
And so is this a growing interest in this country?
Yeah, there's huge, there are some questions asked in Parliament from time to time. There's a lot of media interest and massive public interest. So,
I don't know of any MP that would bear the ridicule of asking a question about UFOs.
Well, I think they don't use the term UFO. They use the term we used, which is unidentified aerial phenomena. It sounds much more scientific.
Much more. There's someone writing in a text, where is the proof of UFOs? Well, you're not here to argue that UFOs... Well, I suppose you are saying UFOs exist, because that just means unidentified flying objects.
Exactly.
But I suppose the questioner really means, what's the proof of alien intelligence out there?
Well, there isn't. I think you've got to make your own decision on that. But, I mean, I would say to people, go on to the M.O.D's website, have a look at some of the material, and go to the National Archives at Kew and have a look at some of the old X-Files, if I can call them that. There's a lot in there.
Now, you saw previously classified papers. Are you now at liberty to say the kind of things you saw?
Yeah, only those ones, of course, that have already been released by the government. But about a year ago, there was something called Project Condign, which was sponsored by the Defence Intelligence Staff at the M.O.D. That was classified secret UK eyes only, and it ran to about 450 pages, and it was a detailed study of the UFO phenomenon, just, trying to get to grips with what we had.
Was it sceptical?
Its conclusions were sceptical, but in amongst it there were some marvellous little sound bites. There was one that said something like, under no circumstances should pilots try to intercept a U.A.P, as we call them, except to put the object to the rear of your aircraft. So, not saying we believe in aliens, but saying that there's something out there.
Well, anyone who gazes at the galaxy, as I do myself frequently, and not always with a telescope, but often with a telescope, anyone who gazes at the galaxy and who has an inquiring mind must ask themselves the question, is it realistic that of all these billions of stars, planets, that just one, this little, otherwise undistinguished one, if one was looking at it through a telescope from somewhere else, is the only one in the entire galaxies and galaxies that has ever had any life?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, most astronomers, most scientists now actually do say, the chances of our being the only civilization in the universe must be vanishingly small. And it's interesting, scientists are now increasingly using radio astronomy and building more and more powerful radio telescopes to listen for the signals that they think probably come from these civilizations. So scientists are actually on the case too.
Signals? Have you any evidence of signals being received?
No, not at all. But what the scientists say is that using things like radio and television should be logical bits of science to invent and discover. Therefore, we're doing it. We've been doing it for hundreds of years. Our signals have been leaking into space. We're what the scientists call a detectable civilization through our radio and television. They postulate that others should be doing the same thing, and we should be able to find them if they're there.